It's really important when children are beginning to start to use the internet to talk to their friends that we explain to them that this is almost like starting to learn a new social rule. So we'll have talked to them about, how to interact with their friends, how to play, how to share, all that kind of stuff. But when they get onto the digital world, we need to do the same all over again. And so one of the things that's really important for us to do is to talk to them about the whole idea of empathy, the idea that they have to think about how somebody else is going to respond to or be impacted by the things that they say. When it comes to empathy and children, most children only discover how somebody else feels after they've said or done something. So typically in the normal run-of-the-mill, for a child, they'll discover that their friend was upset by something that they said or was made angry by something that they said because they see it almost immediately. Their friend looks upset, they look angry, and they get that feedback. And then for most children, they can apologize or they can try and repair the relationship. However, in an online world, it's slightly different, and so children may not get that immediate feedback, and so we need to help them understand that everything that they say and do has an impact on somebody else. So for example, if you say to them, "You're an awful idiot," your child may understand that you're joking or that you're being serious, typically by how you'll say it. So if you say, "Oh, you're an awful idiot," hopefully they'd recognize that you mean that you're joking, that they've just been a messer. But if you say, "You're an awful idiot," they're probably going to realize that you're quite serious and you're quite cross about something. If that's written down for your child, it's just the bare words, and they won't have a clue whether you're serious or whether you're joking about it. And so when you do that kind of exercise with your children, it's really helpful because that allows them to understand that the words that they might type in a digital context won't necessarily be understandable by somebody else in terms of what you meant. And so the whole idea of giving some emotional tone then becomes quite important. And so we need to help children with that by giving them access to things like emojis, because that's what we all use. So we have the crying, laughing emoji to help children, or to help the other person rather, realize that we're only joking. Or we'd have the fuming, angry, red face to show that we're really cross about whatever it is that we've just said. So we need to help children with that too. They need to realize that what they put out into the digital world won't necessarily be understood, or people won't necessarily take the meaning that they intended. And so we need to help them to try to give that extra meaning in all of their communications. Another really important thing for children is to realize now that what they say, they're not going to get this immediate feedback, which means they have to think longer and harder before they press the send button on anything that they're going to put out into the digital world. When children are with their friends, they get this immediate kind of, response. Their friend laughs, their friend cries maybe if they've said something mean, but they get it immediately, and so they can very quickly change their whole tone or change their message. That's not the case in the online world, and so we need to encourage them to take that little bit of extra time. Just have a think both about what you want to say, and have a think about what will somebody else understand by what you're now sending them. So when in doubt, think, pause, then send. There's a real difference between online communication and real-world communication. And so when children start to use online communication, because they don't get this immediacy of response, they can almost forget about the fact that they're talking to another person. So even though they know in theory, in principle, that this is a friend that they're communicating with, once that friend isn't visible to them, and in fact it might be several minutes or even an hour later before they get a response from the friend, they can perhaps not realize that they're actually talking to a real person, which means, of course, then they mightn't put the thought into what it is that they want to say, so that they're hopefully being kind and considerate, which is what we really want our children to be in all of their online communication. Really important for us then to talk with our children about this difference between the real world, where they get all this immediate feedback, and the online world, where they need to constantly remember that they're actually talking to real people.